Today I'm going to be ranking the top 12 most underrated and off-meta PvP weapons that are extremely powerful but strictly not very popular. These weapons are criminally underrated, and in my opinion, many of them are just straight up better than the popular weapons, but the community just hasn't figured it out yet. It actually blows my mind that some of these weapons aren't even in the top 100 most used, and yet they're extremely effective must-have weapons for any PvP activity, ranging from Iron Banner to Trials of Osiris. I'll also be going through some honorable mentions towards the end of the video to make this an all-around great collection of viable weapons that might be lacking just a little bit in the popularity department. Before we get into the rankings though, let me tell you about the sponsor of today's video, Bespoke Post. Bespoke offers monthly boxes of top-shelf goods from under-the-radar brands, and it's free to join. One of the reasons I like this brand is they source 90% of their products from small businesses, and many of them are located right here in the US. Based on a preference quiz that you fill out, Bespoke introduces their members to cool new products like outdoor gear, home and kitchen goods, clothing, and more, and each product is worth about $70 retail value. The cool thing is, each box costs only $45, and before anything is shipped, you get to decide if you get the box, swap it for a different one, or just skip that month free of charge. They sent me a couple example products including the Weekender bag, Tonto knife, and retreat hammock. I'll definitely be packing the hammock into the Weekender bag along with some other supplies when I go on a trip to the mountains next summer. So if Bespoke sounds interesting to you, head to bspk.me/shadow20 and use code shadow20 at checkout to save 20% on your first box. Coming in at number 12, we have the Tommy's Matchbook, a 720 RPM solar energy auto rifle with some unique perks and also some hidden perks that have perhaps led to a lot of people sleeping on it. It starts out with pretty decent stats rivaling other 720 autos like the Chroma Rush, which is currently the most popular 720 auto in the game. That's about where the similarities end though. With 100 bullets in the magazine, Tommy's has like double the mag size of a regular 720, and that really allows its ignition trigger perk to work beautifully and absolutely melt multiple Guardians in a row. It begins with a 0.77 second time to kill requiring 90% accuracy, but the ignition trigger perk drops that down to just 0.5 seconds, which competes with some of the fastest killing weapons like Last Word and even Messenger while Desperado is active. It's worth noting that Tommy's overheating does damage you and potentially make the time to kill of your opponent's weapons faster, so that makes Tommy's a really exhilarating and high risk, high reward type of weapon. Tommy's hidden perks are where things really start to get interesting though. I feel like Tommy's is basically the dead man's tale of auto rifles, as it has insane hipfire and in-air accuracy even with its lack of hipfire perks and Icarus. Since you also burn yourself less while you're hipfiring, you can go on insane sprees by jumping and running around the map, hipfiring and melting everyone in 0.5 seconds. Especially if you pair it with Devour to heal yourself after every kill and effectively negate the self-burn from this weapon, it can rack up tons of kills in PvP. I realize this is kind of a cop-out ranking, but at number 11 I put all rapid-fire fusion rifles. One of these rapid-fire fusions is called the Null Composure, and it's actually in the top 30 weapons, making it the highest used on this list, but I imagine a lot of that is just because this weapon is very easy for everyone to obtain. That aside, I ranked rapid-fire fusions in the 11th spot because the fusion rework in combination with various recent meta shifts has really given rapid-fire fusions a range and use case where they are extremely deadly. They now fire off 9 bolts, which gives a little extra room for error where you can miss and still get a kill. Since they have so many bolts, the stability stat is also by far more important than all of the other stats on this archetype, but man, if you get a high stability roll, these fusions can be very deadly. I was surprised by how effective they are at countering shotgun rushers, since you can effectively swap, charge, and shoot all within a fraction of a second. You can also be aggressive and fly at people with these things like you would a pellet shotgun, except you have quite a bit more range. These two use cases are the two most effective strategies while using rapid fire fusions, but I often see people try to treat them like an Aerentil and sit in the back and charge from far away. These fusions are not going to map from 40 meters, and you're going to be really disappointed if you try to use them like that. If you embrace the shotgun counterplay and potential for aggressive pushes though, rapid-fire fusions can be insanely powerful in this meta. Previously, abilities like Shadow Dive dominated the short to medium range, and since those abilities had basically no weaknesses, they made fusions almost obsolete. Now that Shadow Dive has been sufficiently nerfed about 129 times though, shorter range weapons like fusions and sidearms have really gotten the opportunity to shine. At number 10, I put an under-the-radar bow by the name of the Biting Winds. This bow can be easily obtained and farmed through the Beyond Light Empire Hunt quests from Barracks. This bow has a truly unique perk and archetype combination that I probably would have made a video on if I made videos when this bow came out. As you may have been noticing in the background footage, this bow can actually one-shot in PvP without the help of any damage-boosting abilities like a Rift or Charge with Light setup. It's the only precision bow in the game that can roll with a Swashbuckler perk, and I find that extremely attractive, especially for 6v6. I mean, just check out this 7th column clip where I get a melee and then promptly one-shot 6 consecutive Guardians. I love using abilities like the throwing knife to get that melee from a bit of a distance and then use the bonus damage to go on a rampage with the bow. Since Swashbuckler has a medium duration of 4.5 seconds, it's just insanely fun to secure a melee kill and then surprise your opponents by one-shotting them. The 3rd column also has some amazing bow perks like Rapid Hit, Surplus, Moving Target, and Killing Wind. Unfortunately, it cannot roll with Archer's tempo, but that's really my only complaint with this bow, and it's easily my favorite legendary bow in the game. Although it can totally dominate an entire 6v6 lobby, I don't think the value of Swashbuckler is nearly as high when doing competitive or 3v3 activities where kill chaining is less common. I think Monarch definitely takes the cake for competitive. There were times when Monarch was slept on, but honestly I wouldn't even consider Monarch to be off meta now that it's in the top 15 most used weapons in comp at the time of recording. I ranked the 260 RPM rapid fire contingency plan scout rifle at number 9 on this list, and I was initially very skeptical about its potential to be good in PvP. However, after taking some time to get used to it and master its recoil pattern, I can confirm this thing is a menace in PvP. I'm not normally a big fan of scout rifles overall, but this thing is one of the few exceptions, especially when playing 6v6 modes like Iron Banner. The perk options on this particular scout are really what sets it apart from the competition. You can get kill clip to bump up the damage profile to 63 damage per headshot, allowing you to 3 crit and 1 body everyone in PvP. If they're just slightly weak, or if you add literally any damage bonus like an arc soul charged with light or a team shot, the time to kill instantly drops below half a second to just 0.47 seconds. Considering that this weapon effectively has infinite range and can hit full damage up to like 80 meters, that time to kill is basically unheard of for legendary scouts. Stacking firmly planted or surplus on top of this for insane stability makes the recoil very manageable, and the overall forgiving archetype makes it a surprisingly viable scout in PvP, even though stuff like Deadman's Tail does exist. Coming in at number 8, I put the energy shotgun, the Sojourner's Tail. I think there's no argument that Chaperone is currently the best kinetic slug, but Sojourner's has a lot going for it and it's a great option for the energy slot. It has a very high base handling stat of 67, which feels good by itself, but if you add a handling bonus like a Masterwork, Fluted Barrel, or even an exotic like Dragon Shadow or Ophidian Aspect, it feels insanely snappy and responsive. In my opinion, it also has one of the cleanest slug shotgun sights, making enemies very visible and easy to track. The main problem I have with this shotgun is its extraordinarily low aim assist stat of only 35. However, that problem can be remedied. My role has both moving target and opening shot, granting plus 10 and plus 20 aim assist respectively, bringing the total up to 65 on opening shots, which is actually only 5 less than the infamous cannonball firing Chaperone. Threat Detector is another S tier perk that can roll on this weapon. The perk indicator will pop up on the bottom left of your screen when an enemy is within 15 meters, so this can be used to tell when enemies are near even when they're behind cover, and that extra information can actually win you a surprisingly large number of gunfights. Slapping an Icarus mod on the shotgun can lead to some really satisfying in-air plays that aren't possible with exotic slugs due to the lack of Icarus. Overall, the Sojourners just feels really solid and fairly slept on, which is why I think it deserves a spot at number 8. Number 7 is when we enter the territory of criminally slept on weapons. After testing a massive number of weapons for this video, these next 7 weapons are the ones that really stood out to me as insanely powerful and yet not recognized by the community. I put the 600 RPM Skaithlock auto rifle at number 7. For the OG players out there, Skaithlock was actually the auto rifle featured in the Destiny 2 beta and it felt really good back then. Fast forward a few years, it was sunset and then reintroduced and has been flying under the radar ever since. What really stands out to me about this auto is its effective range, or more accurately, its high zoom and range values. Just watch this background footage. I was frequently mapping people at actual scout rifle range and even beating meta scouts and pulses at their own game. Remember the Gnawing Hunger auto rifle that was kinda OP like a year or two ago? Well, its maximum range was 30 meters. On a good roll of Skaithlock, it can push out to 37 meters without encountering any damage fall off. To put that into perspective, Skaithlock has a longer range and a faster time to kill than insanely popular weapons like the Palindrome. Sure, it can't take advantage of peak shooting as well as a hand cannon, but that's no reason to overlook this weapon. Similar to Gnawing Hunger back in the day, Skaithlock deletes people with any type of lethality perk like multi-kill clip or rampage, and it's also very forgiving and does a lot of body shot damage. If consistency perks are more your style, look no further than Eye of the Storm, Under Pressure, Heating Up, and Surplus. Like, check out this insane nearly max range roll that I got featuring both Eye of the Storm and Under Pressure. As the gunfight goes on, both of these perks are just cranking up the accuracy of this weapon to insane levels. Eye of the Storm is giving tons of handling, and Under Pressure is increasing the stability. It's extraordinarily reliable, and I'd straight up claim that Skaithlock is the best dueling auto rifle in the entire game. Coming in at number 6, I put the Annual Skate. I know it's part of the 140 RPM archetype, and you could technically argue that that's meta, but I just had to mention this one while we're on the topic of underrated weapons. It's currently the 74th most popular weapon in quick play, even after multiple other content creators have made videos about it, which is rather surprising. I guess it's kinda hard to get a good roll on it since it's just a random world drop, but let me tell you, do not sleep on this weapon the next time Destiny RNG decides to give you a drop. It does have a bit less range than some of the other 140s, but it has some great perks that can more than make up for that deficiency. For example, it can roll with timed payload, not to be confused with explosive payload. Explosive payload immediately explodes and flinches your opponents, but for time payload, there's actually a bit of delay, and that can actually make it feel like there's more flinch overall. Check out this example where I'm getting hit by an Annual Skate. The delayed explosions from time payload basically make it feel like I'm getting constantly flinched. It's almost like you're getting team shot except only from a single weapon. This is great for duels and flinching special weapons like snipers and linear fusions, but the power of the Annual Skate does not end there. It can also roll opening shot in that column, which is just an amazing hand cannon perk for range, accuracy, and aim assist, and you could even go with swashbuckler if you've got a melee build going. The third column has some pretty good perks, including no distractions, tunnel vision, surplus, and most notably slide shot. Granting an extra 20 range and 30 stability for doing an action as simple as sliding is just amazing, and that more than makes up for the lower range that this weapon has compared to competitors like Palindrome and Fatebringer. In fact, if you have a high range roll and combine slide shot and opening shot, you can even reach a crazy 100 range on the opening shot of attack and then 84 after that, assuming that you slide every now and then. At number 5, I put a weapon that nobody really knew existed until very recently due to Xur selling a pretty good roll. I'm talking about the adaptive future Warcult fusion known as the Timeline's Vertex. The crazy thing about this weapon is that its perk pool is totally garbage except for a couple of absolutely S tier options. I guess it makes sense that it's really underrated overall because the majority of drops on this weapon will probably suck, but if you get the right perks, it's seriously next level. The Timelines has several high zoom scope options, and it's actually unique in that regard because very few non-sunset fusion rifles have scopes to begin with, and none of them have high zoom options. Like, remember when Erentil and its high zoom scopes would absolutely map people from like 50 meters before the nerf? This is the closest thing you're going to get to that experience in the current sandbox. In addition to the scopes, this fusion can roll with the S tier perk Firmly Planted. Like, I literally cannot overstate the value of Firmly Planted. The extra handling, stability, and accuracy just make the bolts on this fusion very close together, and it really pushes out the one-shot distance and consistency of the weapon. If you run a Void subclass and then stack Elemental Capacitor on top of this, it will literally give you 100 stability while you're crouched, making it basically the most consistent fusion rifle in the entire game. Xur sold a fairly good Firmly Planted roll recently, and that's why this fusion has started to catch on, but if you manage to get an Elemental Capacitor roll on it, it just takes it to a whole new level. Don't sleep on this one, it really maps. At number 4, I put all 3 burst sidearms, but more specifically, I'm going to focus on the vision. I feel like a fair number of people don't realize this, but these sidearms actually have a 0.5 time to kill by default. No damage buffs necessary, these things will literally delete people within their effective range. Just look at the insanely destructive potential of killing in only 2 bursts. Now that shotguns have been nerfed several times, Shadow Dive has been obliterated, and abilities have also been nerfed, 3 burst sidearms like the Vision are insanely deadly in PvP. If you land your headshots, you will basically never lose a 1v1. Oh, and did I mention that sidearms recently got a stealthy buff as well? Bungie noted in one of the TWABs that fusions and sidearms previously weren't completely hitscan and had a small amount of travel time, but they fixed them to be fully hitscan. I don't know if it's just a placebo, but 3 burst sidearms in particular have been feeling a little extra crispy lately. I wanted to highlight the Vision sidearm in particular due to its overall good stats and exceptional perk options. The final column rolls with Swashbuckler and Kill Clip. Now, I'm sure you know these are both good perks, but in this case, both of these perks make it extremely easy to 2-burst with the bonus damage. Without any damage buffs, it can be kinda hard to secure the 0.5 time to kill because it requires all headshots on most resilience levels, but with Kill Clip or Swashbuckler, it becomes a whole lot more forgiving. Pair that with Killing Wind or Surplus, and you've got yourself a minuscule but extremely deadly sidearm. If you take it to the next level and set up a charge with light build, possibly using the surprise attack mod, your opponents will certainly be surprised by the power of these crazy 491 RPM 3-burst sidearms. Coming in at number 3, I put the legendary trace rifle, the Retraced Path. In addition to the super cool spinny thing on the side of the gun model, there are a few notable things that make this weapon stand out from the competition. I'll start by saying I think this trace is head and shoulders above every other trace rifle in the game, which really doesn't make much sense considering that they're exotic. I literally cannot think of a single way in which an exotic trace rifle outperforms the Retraced Path in PvP. It has better stats in basically every category compared to other traces, and that's not even taking its perks into consideration. A certain perk combination in particular really stands out to me: Killing Wind and Golden Tricorn. Killing Wind simply seems like the best PvP perk in its column for the bonus mobility, handling, and range, and Golden Tricorn is a relatively new perk that can turn this weapon into perhaps the most deadly weapon in the entire game. At times 1, it drops the time to kill down to a ridiculous 0.6 seconds, but if you use a solar ability like a throwing knife to get it to times 2, it goes all the way down to 0.43 seconds due to a massive 45% damage bonus. And it lasts for 10 seconds, which feels like an eternity in the Crucible. Just watch this clip.
Yo!
So it's like, what's that game called?
Are you gonna one tap with a trace?
Like he said, it's almost like one tapping with a trace rifle. This is often overlooked, but traces output an absurd amount of flinch. This is what it looks like from the opponent's perspective. Like, there is no way I'm gonna land a shot if I'm being beamed by this thing. It's also worth noting that especially if you spec into stability, this trace feels much more manageable than the exotic ones in the recoil department. Oh, and you can also actually see what you're shooting at. The visual effects on the exotic traces are so extreme that they often obscure the target, but Retraced Path doesn't have that problem, which is great and hopefully sets a standard for future trace rifles. Overall, Retraced Path has great stats, perks with extremely high potential, and it just feels amazing to use. Speaking of perks, my Discord server has a channel dedicated to discussing weapon rolls and perks, so if you've ever wondered what perks are best on a weapon, or if you just want to hang out with an awesome community of Guardians, head to discord.gg/shadowdestiny. We're also holding a Guardian fashion contest and giving the winner a free copy of the Witch Queen or a gift card of equivalent value, so definitely hop in using the link in the description. Okay, so for number 2, I put the Sacred Providence, which is currently the only 4-burst non-sunset pulse rifle in the game, and for some reason it has a crazy low 0.06% usage rate in PvP. I want you guys to do me a favor. Pay attention to how many 2-bursts I get in this section of the video. With just 75% accuracy, meaning that you can hit 2 body shots, you can still 2-burst with this weapon. It's incredible. Part of what makes this weapon so exceptional is the rapid hit perk in combination with the aggressive 4-shot burst archetype. If you land the 4 headshots in the first burst, which I found to be fairly easy, boom, you instantly have 4 times rapid hit, which grants a crazy plus 40 reload and plus 20 stability. If you have a stability roll, that means that it's already at 100 total stability after firing a single burst, and that just makes it incredibly easy to land subsequent shots and secure a 2-burst. Even if you only hit 50% headshots in the first burst, rapid hit will still give you plus 10 stability to help you hit all headshots in the second burst and secure a 2-burst kill overall. If anyone out there was a fan of the Blast Furnace or the Go Figure, you'll definitely like a good roll in the Sacred Providence, and it's way more stable. I'd argue that due to rapid hit and since it only requires 75% accuracy, this is the easiest pulse rifle to 2-burst with, but if you want to take it to the next level, just consider that it can roll with kill clip. You can literally have 25% accuracy and still 2-burst with this weapon. 6 bodies and 2 crits will get the job done. And to top it all off, the rapid hit kill clip combo is also amazing for PvE. So in my opinion, it's definitely well worth your time to go get a Sacred Providence if you don't have one already. Before we get into the number 1 spot, let me briefly cover a few honorable mentions. First of all, we have Le Monarch, the infamous poison arrow bow that is widely regarded as one of the most annoying weapons in the game. Simply due to the fact that the lingering damage forces you to go hide and cover for like 20 years to regenerate your HP, this is an incredibly powerful weapon, especially when paired with a hand cannon. However, like I said earlier in the video, Monarch is actually top 15 in the competitive playlist, and while I wouldn't exactly consider it to be the best gun in the game, I wouldn't really consider it to be underrated either. I could say the same thing about lightweight shotguns like 7th Seraph and Wastelander. They're not the number 1 best weapon, but they are pretty common and I wouldn't really consider them to be off meta. Next up we have the Rat King. I gave it a fairly low rating on my exotic weapon tier list video and a lot of people got upset in the comments section. I'll admit, it's actually fairly good once you get the catalyst and start regenerating your HP and going invisible like all the time, but I still wouldn't say that it's that great of a weapon overall. I also think that all legendary powered linear fusion rifles are insanely underrated because they get 5 shots of ammo and you can pretty regularly get 4 or 5 kills instead of the 1 to 3 that you might get with another power weapon like a rocket launcher. I would have probably ranked linears very high in this video, but I actually talked about them in depth in my other video ranking the best weapons in the game because, yeah, I think they're actually insanely good. Last but not least, the Vigilance Wing is currently the 29th most used weapon, but honestly I just think it should be higher. It kills in 0.7 seconds, it's extremely forgiving if you happen to hit some body shots, and it will restore your HP whenever your 6v6 blueberries die, so it's just an awesome weapon overall. With the honorable mentions out of the way, I put Teraba as my number 1 pick for the most underrated weapon in D2. Considering that it's not even in the top 100 most used weapons and has like a 0.2% usage rate, it's safe to say that a lot of people are sleeping on its potential. Some people might just say that that's because it's a rare weapon overall, but the same has been the case for other raid weapons like Vex, and that didn't stop it from topping the PvP usage charts in the past. Even though Teraba has the downside of losing Ravenous Beast progress when you swap weapons, the 0.33 second Ravenous Beast time to kill is just second to none and lets you tear through huge groups of opponents. Considering that you don't even need a kill to unleash the beast and it kills way faster than any other damage perk in the game, the Teraba is a force to be reckoned with in the Crucible. Even without its perk, the base Teraba kills in just 0.67 seconds, making it one of the fastest killing primary archetypes in the game. Since you've just heard my list of underrated and off-meta weapons, I have 2 recommendations for you. First, I spent a silly amount of time ranking literally every exotic weapon into a tier list, and second, I ranked the top 12 absolute best Destiny weapons. Both of those videos are on your screen now and linked in the description, and I highly recommend picking one and then clicking on it now. By the way, Patreon supporters got access to this video a few days ago, so if you'd like early access to my videos and cool exclusive content, click that icon on the left of your screen now or head to patreon.com/shadowdestiny. Thank you for watching, I really appreciate your support.